Nearly 11 full days, 800,000 federal employees are working without pay or furloughed, and no end in sight. That's been the story of the government shutdown so far. But could tomorrow mark a turning point? CNN has learned that President Trump has invited congressional leaders from both parties to the White House for a meeting on Wednesday. And just moments ago, he tweeted, quote, "Border security and the wall thing and shutdown is not where Nancy Pelosi wanted to start her tenure as Speaker. Let's make a deal." But the president will likely take a pass on the deal the Democrats are currently offering. The proposal, which is set for a vote on Thursday, temporarily funds the Department of Homeland Security at current levels until February 8th, but it does not include any additional money for a border wall. And as the president said last night and many times before, the wall is not negotiable.
I'm in Washington. I'm ready, willing, and able. I'm in the White House. I'm ready to go. They can come over right now. They could have come over anytime. I spent Christmas in the White House. I spent New Year's Eve now in the White House. And, I'm here. I'm ready to go. It's very important. A lot of people are looking to get their paycheck. And so I'm ready to go anytime they want. No, we are not giving up. We have to have border security. And the wall is a big part of border security, the biggest part.
I'm going to bring in two CNN political commentators joining me now to discuss all of this. Doug Heye is a former RNC communications director, and Dave Jacobson is a Democratic strategist. Gentlemen, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Doug, I'm going to start with you. President Trump has been determined, as we see, to make good on his campaign promise of building a wall. The Democrats are just as determined to prevent it from happening. What will be the result of tomorrow's meeting, and what is the end game here?
Well, it doesn't appear that either side really has an end game in sight or knows exactly what its strategy is. And the reason why is if you go back to 2013 when we had the government shutdown, I worked in the House of Representatives at that time, and we were doing on the Republican side events every day. The press might have cynically have called them political stunts. They would have been right. They were political stunts. But every day we were trying to fill the void in the media. We were trying to get our message advanced. And the Democrats and the White House were doing the same thing. The silence that we've had from both sides has really been deafening on this. And it's why we've seen this last so long. What has been interesting is Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats seem to be taking almost a Michael Corleone type offer here where they're saying, Donald Trump, here's our offer, nothing. So the question is what actually gets done at the end, and we just don't know yet.
And let's talk about that offer. Dave, Democrats plan to vote on this plan that will go nowhere, let's be honest, in the Senate. They say Senate Republicans will then be complicit in the shutdown if it doesn't pass. But is this a risk politically, given that they will soon control one half of Congress?
Pamela, I don't think so. I mean, the American people are clearly on the side of the Democrats. Reuters just put out a poll days ago that shows 47% of Americans blame Donald Trump for this. That's 13 points more than they blame Democrats at 33%. And that's not just one poll. This is consistent. Quinnipiac a month ago had a poll that blamed Donald Trump on this. And the fact of the matter is, Donald Trump said that he would be, quote, proud to shut down the government over the border wall. And let's not also forget, Donald Trump said that Mexico was going to pay for the border wall, not American taxpayers. So the reality is, as Mick Mulvaney said back in 2016, that this border wall is absurd. Democrats are willing to come to the table for border security, but they're going to dig their heels in. They're clearly not going to fund that wall.
And Doug, the nation's largest federal employee union is now suing the government for requiring essential employees to work without pay during the shutdown. What do you think? Do you think it will take actions like this from everyday Americans who are outside of Congress to push lawmakers back to the bargaining table?
Yeah, unfortunately, during the 2013 shutdown, I was considered essential and had to work even on weekends during the shutdown. There wasn't a lot of sympathy for government employees, but ultimately, I think we still have the question of what is that tipping point going to be? And it's certainly the only thing we know at this point is it's going to be political pressure, and which side feels the most political pressure. If you're Nancy Pelosi, you have had a great benefit in Donald Trump taking the blame of the shutdown on him and saying he'd be proud to call it the Trump shutdown. Mm-hmm. That has set the things against Republicans to the point that Mitch McConnell doesn't want to be seen publicly a whole lot because he doesn't want to answer a lot of questions because we know that Donald Trump basically sold Senate Republicans out. They voted on a deal they thought the White House would accept, and that hasn't been acceptable to the White House at this point. So ultimately the question is, where does the political pressure fall and how long does it last?
Well, Let's talk about that political pressure, Dave. You mentioned some polls, but as Doug just said, there's not a lot of sympathy for federal employees. For the everyday American who is not one of these 800,000 federal employees not getting paid, how much do they care about this government shutdown?
I think a tremendous amount. I mean, these are working people. These are middle-class folks. They're not millionaires and billionaires like Donald Trump and his Trump cronies. These are hardworking folks who depend on those paychecks to pay rent, to put food on the table for their families. And so this is a big issue. And look, I think the Democrats are going to put forward a common sense plan for border security to fund the government, and they're going to continue to put forward such plans. And that's why the American people are on their side. Let's not forget, Pamela, the 2018 election was a watershed moment for Democrats who won 40 seats at a time when Donald Trump was crisscrossing the country campaigning against the caravan. It backfired. Now Donald Trump's a candidate for the 2020 election and campaigning on this hard-edge issue of immigration and this wall that he said Mexico was going to pay for, perhaps could be a good issue for his base, but not for a 2020 electoral landslide, with those independent swing voters that he's going to need going into 2020. So I think this is a lose-lose issue for him.
Well, and of course, the president would tell you, look, I lost the House, but I did well in the Senate. Okay, listen, I want to ask you guys before we wrap up about what the president is now saying in a public battle with retired four-star Army General Stanley McChrystal, who said this on Sunday. Let's take a listen.
If you were asked to join the Trump administration, what would you say?
I'd say no. I think it's important for me to work for people who I think are basically honest, who tell the truth as best they know it.
You think he's a liar?
I don't think he tells the truth.
Is Trump immoral in your view?
I think he is.
So now the president, no surprise, firing back on Twitter, claiming McChrystal got fired like a dog by Obama. Last assignment, a total bust, known for big dumb mouth, Hillary lover. We should be clear, McChrystal was not fired. He did resign, though, after disparaging comments that he made about then Vice President Biden that appeared in a Rolling Stone article, as you probably recall. But Doug, this is a president who touts his love and respect for the military, and yet he makes comments like these.
Yeah, look, clearly Donald Trump's biggest is a fan of people who are Donald Trump fans. That's no surprise. I would say Trump supporters often talk about how Donald Trump is a counterpuncher. The reality is he never misses an opportunity to punch below his weight. You're the leader of the free world. You don't need to attack former generals. It's just not a smart policy.
Dave, quick reaction.
It's just deplorable and reckless and unbecoming of a president of the United States. These are decorated war heroes who risk their lives for our country. And Donald Trump, perhaps, by the way, shouldn't be talking about decorated military veterans when he deferred from the draft. I mean, this is a president who refused to serve in the military, to risk his life to protect Americans. And now he's attacking decorated war heroes like the general.
Okay, thank you both. Doug, Dave, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Many thanks.